Hi, this weekend I watched The Brutalist, one of the major contenders at this year's Academy Awards. It's co-written and directed by Brady Corbet, and it's the story of Laszlo Toth, a Hungarian Jewish emigre coming to the United States after the Second World War, having survived the Holocaust. He's hoping to make his way in uh, American society, having secured a job with his cousin who runs a furniture business and accommodation living in the showroom's back room. He, through his cousin, he makes the acquaintance of the son of a millionaire and is retained to refurbish the millionaire's library in the modern brutalist style. When the millionaire arrives home unexpectedly, he's horrified by what's happened and throws the men out. And this leads, unfortunately, to Laszlo losing his job when his cousin claims that he made a pass against his wife, which, as far as we know, didn't happen. Laszlo is reduced to shoveling coal for a living when the millionaire finds him and tells him, "No, actually, I didn't know that you are an acclaimed Central European architect, a great talent of your age. I would like you to work on a project for me." He conceives the project of a huge community centre in tribute to his beloved late mother, with Laszlo to design and construct it. And so begins a decades-long relationship between these two men as the story of Laszlo as an American immigrant unfolds. It's a story of racism, of prejudice, of class and cultural conflict in the constant tension between these two men. I thought it was superb. It's a giant epic story. It's the first time I've seen a first run picture in the cinema that has an intermission. The film runs a total of 3 hours and 35 minutes, and just over halfway through, there's a 15-minute break, which I used to go for a walk around the cinema car park. And it's fully merited in its length. I looked at my watch, I think, once during the course of the actual running time of the movie. Towards the end, I think maybe 20 minutes from the end of the movie, I felt it was starting to sag a little and could have been tightened up slightly, maybe just brought under the 3.5 hour mark. Um, but it's utterly compelling. It's a beautiful film to look at. I think Corbet's direction and his mastery of image, sound, music, all coming together to create the classical Gesamtkunstwerk, the total art, I think works beautifully. Adrien Brody and Guy Pearce as the two main characters are utterly compelling. I think there is a weak link in it, and that is Felicity Jones, who plays Laszlo's wife, Erzsébet, who partially narrates the first half of the movie and then after the intermission appears in the second half. You always see her acting. Brody and Pearce feel very natural in their performances, Brody in particular, whilst Jones looks like she's acting. And she looks like that in every single thing she's ever done. And it's a great shame because it doesn't quite derail the film, but it does limit its effectiveness. And that's a great shame because there's so much potential here. As the relationship between the two men continues over the decades and construction stops and starts on this giant potential folly on a hill overlooking a town in Pennsylvania, the situation becomes more complex. Laszlo has been living in America for 20 years, but is still not accepted, even though it is, of course, supposedly a nation of immigrants. But I was completely absorbed by the movie. It didn't feel like it was as long as it was. It felt like it was telling a story that needed to be told at this particular pace. But the technical credits, the music, the editing, the photography were all superb. Daniel Blumberg's score I loved. The choice of popular music of the time woven into the story I thought worked brilliantly, so that even when there's an epilogue set in 1980, we have Italo disco music coming in suddenly, which feels like it's just underlining the shift in the age. But I thought it was absolutely superb. It could easily have dragged. It could easily have been overindulgent and monomaniacal, and a film made about a great artist is always at risk of just being a vessel for the filmmaker's ego. And I don't think that's the case here, because Laszlo is a deeply flawed character who is nevertheless trying to do something great, trying to do something worthwhile, something lasting, whilst himself being a far from perfect person. And I think that shows this is not just a vehicle for Corbet's ego or anything like that. This is a story about something specific and something universal at the same time. I thought it was absolutely superb. It's one of my favourite films of 2024. I recommend it very highly. And make sure there's an intermission.